Hello everyone and welcome to the Young and the Restless official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Adam Newman may find out about his brother Nick Newman's painkiller addiction and agree to cover up for him. While many loved ones within Nick's circle can tell something is off with him, and some have suspected he may be developing an addiction to painkillers, no one has caught him in the act or confirmed anything. As Nick and Adam have grown closer and seem to be heading to Las Vegas together to bring Matt Clark down, they'll be spending a lot more time together. Could Adam see his brother popping pills and confront him about it? Could he catch him trying to buy painkillers? No one has really been with Nick 24/7, so if the two Newman brothers travel to Sin City, they will be in each other's orbit and joined at the hip. Nick could either slip and tell Adam the truth, or Adam may sense what's going on with Nick enough to pull a confession out of him. For the longest time, Nick and Adam could barely stand to be in the same room together, but things have changed dramatically between the two men. Adam has proved his loyalty to his half-siblings and changed his attitude towards his family. As such, Nick has softened his stance. Adam seems willing to do just about anything to help Nick bring Matt down, even if it means sacrificing his own mental health by revisiting his darker spider days in Las Vegas and coming face to face with Reza Thomas. Nick also cares enough for Adam to try to pull him away from Matt's drama, but Adam seems determined to help his brother with this situation. So, if Adam sees Nick using or his brother confirms it, there's no way Adam would run to the rest of the family, especially if Nick tells him not to. Nick may promise to get help after Matt is taken care of, so Adam would probably promise to keep his mouth shut. Adam loves the fact that he and Nick are finally on the same page, and he'll want Nick to get help, but also won't want to ruffle any feathers. Plus, he may believe Nick's word about laying off the painkillers after Matt's dealt with, as Adam has always been the black sheep, with Nick being the goody-goody. For the first time in, ever, Nick and Adam are acting like real brothers, and Adam may be determined to keep it that way, even against his better judgment. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that someone is bound to find out about Nick's painkiller issue, and Adam seems like the very person who will learn this news and keep his brother's secret. But will it cost him in the long run? The tension surrounding the Newman family had been quietly building beneath the surface, like a storm forming just beyond the horizon, and at the center of it all stood Nick Newman. Those closest to him could sense that something wasn't quite right anymore. His mood had shifted in subtle but undeniable ways. Moments of irritation, flashes of exhaustion, and the distant look in his eyes that suggested he was carrying a weight no one else could see. Rumors had begun circulating among family and friends that Nick might be leaning too heavily on the painkillers he had been prescribed, but no one had truly caught him in the act. There had been suspicions, quiet conversations behind closed doors, and worried glances exchanged across rooms, yet no concrete proof had surfaced. The truth lingered, just out of reach, hidden behind Nick's carefully maintained composure. But secrets, especially the dangerous kind, rarely stay buried forever. Meanwhile, an unexpected shift had been unfolding within the Newman family, one that few would have believed possible not long ago. For years, Adam Newman and Nick had been locked in a bitter rivalry, their relationship defined by resentment, mistrust, and old wounds that refused to heal. There was a time when the two brothers could barely stand to share the same room without tensions igniting into explosive conflict. Yet something had changed between them recently, something fragile but genuine. Walls that had once seemed permanent were slowly beginning to crumble, replaced by a cautious understanding that neither man had expected. Adam had worked hard to prove his loyalty to the family he had so often been cast out from, softening his approach and showing a side of himself that even his siblings hadn't fully seen before. And in response, Nick, along the family's moral compass, had begun to lower his guard. As fate would have it, their newfound connection was about to be tested in ways neither brother could predict. Both men had their sights set on taking down a dangerous enemy, Matt Clark, and the path toward that goal was leading them straight to the glittering chaos of Las Vegas. The trip promised long hours spent side by side, navigating a high-stakes situation that demanded absolute trust. For two brothers who had spent most of their lives at odds, the irony was almost poetic. But being constantly in each other's orbit meant something else as well. The carefully guarded secret Nick had managed to keep hidden from everyone else might not stay hidden for long. In the neon glow of Sin City, with tension hanging thick in the air, it wouldn't take much for Adam to notice something troubling. A glimpse of pill bottles where they shouldn't be. A moment where Nick thought he wasn't being watched. Perhaps even a quiet encounter with someone selling the very painkillers that had become his dangerous escape. For the first time, someone would be close enough to see what others had only suspected. Adam had always possessed a sharp instinct for reading people, especially those closest to him. If Nick slipped even once, if the cracks in his armor widened for just a moment, Adam might be the one person who could see the truth clearly and demand an explanation. And if that confrontation came, the outcome could change everything between them. There was a real possibility that Nick himself might finally confess, the weight of his secret becoming too heavy to carry alone. Or Adam, sensing the truth lurking beneath the surface, might push just hard enough to draw the admission out of his brother. For years, Nick had been seen as the dependable one, the steady, responsible good guy of the Newman clan, while Adam had lived in the shadow of being labeled the family's black sheep. The idea that their roles might now reverse, even briefly, would carry a powerful emotional charge. Yet beneath the shock and disappointment, there would also be something else, understanding, because Adam, perhaps more than anyone else, knew what it meant to struggle with inner demons. Despite the risks involved, Adam had already proven he was willing to go to extreme lengths to help his brother bring Matt down. In fact, helping Nick might require him to revisit a darker chapter of his own past, his time operating under the ruthless persona known as Spider. That shadowy identity had once thrived in the dangerous corners of Las Vegas, and returning to that world meant confronting memories Adam had long tried to bury. Even worse, it could mean coming face to face again with Risa Thomas, a figure deeply tied to those turbulent days. The emotional cost of reopening those wounds could be devastating, but Adam seemed prepared to endure it if it meant helping his brother. Nick, for his part, wasn't blind to the sacrifices Adam was making. Despite everything, he cared enough to worry about the toll this mission might take on Adam. There were moments when Nick tried to pull him back, urging him not to dive too deeply into Matt's dangerous world. But Adam's determination never wavered. This time, he wasn't acting out of rebellion or resentment. He was doing it because he wanted to stand beside his brother, something that once would have seemed impossible. And that fragile bond might become the very reason Adam chooses to protect Nick's secret if the truth about the painkillers finally comes out. If Adam witnessed the pills or heard the confession directly from Nick himself, it's hard to imagine him running to the rest of the family with the information. Not now, not after everything they had gone through to rebuild their relationship. If Nick looked him in the eye and promised he would seek help once Matt was dealt with, Adam might accept that promise, even if a part of him knew it was risky to do so. Keeping the secret would mean carrying the burden alongside his brother. For Adam, the decision would be deeply personal. For the first time in what felt like forever, he and Nick were finally standing on the same side, working together like true brothers instead of bitter rivals. That connection was something Adam had long craved but never believed he could have. The thought of destroying it, of triggering another family crisis that would drive them apart again, might be unbearable. Even if his instincts warned him that hiding the truth could lead to bigger consequences later, Adam might still choose loyalty over caution. But secrets, especially dangerous ones, have a way of growing heavier with time. The longer Nick's addiction remains hidden, the more devastating the fallout could become when it finally surfaces. And if Adam becomes the keeper of that secret, he may find himself trapped between protecting his brother and protecting the family from a truth they deserve to know. It would be a moral dilemma with no easy answers, a test of loyalty that could shape the future of the Newman family. As the shadows of Las Vegas loom closer and the confrontation with Matt Clark approaches, the stakes continue to rise with every passing moment. And one question hangs over everything like an ominous warning. When the truth about Nick's painkiller struggle finally comes to light, will Adam's decision to protect his brother bring them closer than ever before? Or will it ultimately cost them both more than they ever imagined? As the plan to bring down Matt Clark began to take shape, the road ahead for Nick Newman and Adam Newman led deeper into unfamiliar territory, both emotionally and physically. The closer they moved toward Las Vegas, the more the atmosphere around them seemed to thicken with tension and unspoken truths. Long car rides, late-night strategy talks, and the constant pressure of their mission forced the brothers into each other's orbit in a way that hadn't happened in years. For most of their lives, distance had defined their relationship, each man keeping the other at arm's length to avoid old wounds reopening. But now, circumstances demanded something different. Trust, cooperation, and the kind of honesty that had always been missing between them. The neon-lit skyline of Las Vegas shimmered ahead like a promise and a warning all at once. And somewhere within that glittering city, secrets were waiting to surface. At first, the signs were subtle enough that Adam might have questioned whether he was imagining them. A brief moment when Nick stepped away during a conversation, returning with a slightly calmer demeanor that felt oddly forced. A small pill bottle appearing in Nick's hand before quickly disappearing into his jacket pocket. A flicker of discomfort crossing Nick's face that didn't quite match the situation at hand. Adam had always been perceptive, especially when it came to reading the people closest to him, and these tiny inconsistencies began forming a pattern that he couldn't ignore. The more time the brothers spent together, the harder it became for Nick to maintain the illusion that everything was under control. And Adam, watching quietly from the sidelines, started to see the truth lurking just beneath the surface. It wasn't long before suspicion gave way to certainty. One quiet moment, perhaps in a dim hotel hallway or inside a parked car beneath the glowing lights of the strip, could change everything. Adam might walk in at the exact wrong moment and catch Nick taking another pill, or he might witness his brother nervously negotiating with someone who clearly wasn't part of their plan against Matt Clark. The realization would hit Adam with a mix of shock and heartbreak, because the image of Nick as the family's steady, dependable protector had always felt unshakable. Yet now, standing face to face with the truth, Adam would see something different, a man struggling silently under pressure that had been building for far too long. And in that moment, the roles between the two brothers might quietly shift. The confrontation that followed wouldn't be explosive or filled with shouting. Instead, it would carry the heavy, quiet tension of two men who had spent a lifetime misunderstanding each other. Adam might simply ask the question, his voice calm but firm, forcing Nick to stop pretending. At first, Nick would likely try to brush it off, insisting it was nothing more than medication he needed for lingering pain. But Adam had lived long enough with secrets and lies to recognize when someone was hiding the truth. Slowly, the conversation would chip away at Nick's defenses until the weight of everything he had been carrying finally broke through. When Nick finally admitted what was really happening, the moment would feel both devastating and strangely intimate. He might confess that the painkiller started as something temporary, something manageable, but somewhere along the way, the line between relief and dependency blurred. The stress of everything he had been facing, the endless pressure of protecting the people he loved, and the looming threat of Matt Clark had pushed him further down a road he never intended to travel. For someone who had always prided himself on being strong and dependable, admitting that weakness would feel like the hardest thing he had ever done. Yet standing there with Adam, he might realize this was the first time he had truly allowed himself to be vulnerable with his brother. Adam's reaction wouldn't be judgmental. If anything, it would come from a place of understanding that very few people in the Newman family could offer. He knew what it felt like to battle demons that no one else could see, to carry guilt and shame while pretending everything was fine. Instead of anger, there would be a quiet determination in Adam's eyes, a determination to help Nick find his way back before things spiraled further out of control. But Adam would also make it clear that the truth couldn't stay hidden forever. Addiction had a way of destroying people slowly, and he wasn't willing to watch that happen to his brother. Nick, however, would plead for time. With Matt Clark still out there and the mission unfinished, Nick might insist that everything had to wait until this one last problem was solved. He would promise Adam that once Matt was dealt with, once the threat was finally gone, he would get the help he needed. The words would come with sincerity but also with desperation, because Nick knew that if the rest of the Newman family found out now, everything could unravel. The last thing he wanted was to become another source of chaos for the people he had spent his life trying to protect. And so he would ask Adam to do something incredibly difficult: keep the secret just a little longer. For Adam, the decision wouldn't come easily. He had spent so many years fighting to earn a place in the family that betraying Nick now felt unthinkable. This fragile bond they had built together was something he treasured more than he ever expected to. For once, he wasn't the outsider looking in or the villain everyone blamed. He was simply a brother standing beside another brother in a moment of crisis. That connection meant more to him than he could easily explain, and despite the warning bells ringing in the back of his mind, Adam might finally nod, agreeing to keep Nick's secret for now. But even as that promise passed between them, the weight of it settled heavily on Adam's shoulders. Protecting Nick meant carrying the burden alone, watching closely as his brother walked a dangerous line between control and collapse. Every pill Nick took would serve as a reminder that time was running out. Every step deeper into Matt Clark's world would increase the pressure they were both under, and the closer they came to confronting their enemy, the more fragile Nick's grip on control might become. Yet for the first time in their complicated lives, Nick and Adam would move forward not as rivals but as allies. Two brothers bound together by loyalty, secrets, and the shared determination to end Matt Clark's threat once and for all. The journey ahead promised danger, emotional upheaval, and difficult choices that could reshape the future of the Newman family. And as the lights of Las Vegas burned brighter around them, one truth lingered in the shadows. Sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought against enemies in the open, but against the quiet struggles hidden deep within the people we love.